Yeah, Russo's on the Bay. They owned the restaurant on Lefferts Boulevard. Russo's on the Bay. The father and the Uncle Joey owned it. It's good guys. The father and the brother. Then when Joey died, the uncle died. When Joey died, I guess with the money they inherited from him, Frankie Russo and his father bought that property on Causeway Boulevard and opened up Russo's on the Bay. And then it was just one building. And then they built extensions on it and extensions on it, and now it's tremendous, and it's probably one of the best places to have a wedding. I mean, I got to give them that. Blew it up, and then they bought a lot of property for the Shell Bank.
In about 1 mile, the destination is on your left.
They just bought up all the property on between them and the Garinos. They own fucking probably 80% of Causeway Boulevard. There's a couple of spots that Vic Musso bought up. His crew bought. They had a ton of money. They bought the Starbucks where that Starbucks is. They owned all mobbed up. It's all mobbed up.
How would you describe Howard Beach for someone who has no clue about it?
Howard Beach, well, it changed over the. When I was a kid, it was dirt roads. They actually had an Indians here with trampolines and archery. It was all dirt. It was all lots. All that was here was the Bow Wow, the big Bow Wow on Causeway Boulevard, and then later on Pizza City opened. The Bow Wow pretty much brought people to this section, and then eventually people started buying land and building houses. But when I was a kid in the 60s, it was nothing here. It was actually nothing here. That building right there was actually the famous old video places that went out of business. Oh my God, I got a brain lock.
I know it.
You know which one I'm talking about?
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster, right. That was in a Blockbuster video, and they screwed up Blockbuster. They didn't want to go digital, and they went out of business. But that was the first one in the neighborhood. I used to take my son there and rent movies. So this was really nothing here. Now it's all built up. Now it's multi-million-dollar properties. There was a bowling alley here where that great building was. That was a bowling alley. Now it's a Gold's Gym. That was a bowling alley when I was a kid. It's gone now. I mean, this was all nothing here when I was a kid. New Park Pizza, of course, was here forever. Where the famous racial incident took place in the 70s or 80s, whenever it was. Al Sharpton protested here. This was Blockbuster Video right here. That was Blockbuster Video, and that was the bowling alley. This was another. Then they opened up Ragtime over here. That was a famous store that was owned by the Garinos. They were with the Gambino family, captains and soldiers, and their uncle was in Murders Incorporated. So even back then, it was mobbed up, but there was nothing here. The firehouse was actually, of course, always here. Right there, that firehouse was there my whole life. Now it's all built up. I mean, it's totally different now. Vincent's came later on. Vincent's opened up in the 80s. The original one is in downtown Manhattan, Little Italy. 7-Eleven. There's even a 7-Eleven here now. I can't believe it. McDonald's. The McDonald's has been here for quite some time. It's been here since my son was born in 83. I think it opened in 82, 83. That was a diner. That was the famous diner. So that Roma Villa, that was a diner. That was the Blue Fountain Diner. That's where Charlie Caniglia killed my friend Michael outside there. I testified at his trial. He was a crazy psychopathic murderer with the Gambino family. That used to be the Blue Fountain Diner. That's where the murder took place. Two wise guys actually owned that diner back in the day. The Blue Fountain Diner. That was the Blue Fountain Diner, yeah. Now it's Tony Romo's. That was the Blue Fountain Diner. Now we're coming up on just the boatyards were here always. The boatyards were always here. Pizza City was over here. That's famous. Lenny's. Have a glass of wine on Joe. That's been there 50 years. Here's where Pizza City was right here. It was a famous place. Now it's a Popeyes. It's still a pizzeria, but this was where Pizza City was. This whole spot right here. It was Pizza City. And across the street there, that was a club called Mr. Colossus. That was a disco in the 70s that Genie Gotti owned. That was a disco, one of the first discos I ever went to. That's where I met my first wife, Alice, in there. And now we're coming up on the famous spot where the Bow Wow was, the big Bow Wow. That got Howard Beach off on the map. Look what Frankie built. Look at this place. Russo's on the bay. They built a castle. Look how big he made it. Oh my God. Unbelievable what they built here.